Here is Representative Jim Clyburn speaking to MSNBC's Jonathan Capehart. And if you want to know why the voters didn't take seriously the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democratic system, here's Jim Clyburn, because I took it seriously. I think he's extremely dangerous. But do you get that from this?
Congressman Clyburn, let me get you to clear something up, because I'm a little confused. On Tuesday, you were asked on CNN whether you thought President Biden should pardon Donald Trump. I'm just going to ask you the question directly. Do you think that President Biden should pardon Donald Trump? And if so, why?
Yes, I do think so. And I think he should pardon all of those people that have been accused and have been targeted, so that we can clean the slate. We can have an air of possibilities for the future. If we keep digging at things of the past, I'm not too sure the country will not lose its way. Now, remember, President Trump has been indicted, has been convicted on state crime. Also, please remember that the United States Supreme Court has given him immunity. And so I'm asking people who question my thought on this to explain to me how he would be any more insulated by this pardon than he seems to already be by the United States Supreme Court with its immunity.
Well, Congressman, then that would beg the question, why even bother to give him a pardon if he already has immunity from the Supreme Court?
Because I think Joe Biden will be demonstrating what he's always demonstrated to me, that he loves this country more than anything else other than maybe his family. He wants to see this country going forward. He doesn't want to see us keep digging into the past, but moving forward. So I think it would give a tremendous opportunity for him to demonstrate that kind of concern for the future of the country.
Well, Congressman Clyburn, this might be the one and only time we will ever disagree.
Yeah. Okay. Clyburn's like, let's do a Morning Joe.
Yeah, right.
Let's do a Morning Joe, but like just have Biden do the Morning Joe. Go roll over on your back, show your belly, let Donald Trump rub it, subservient, just bow down. Donald Trump tried to overturn the Democratic results of the 2020 election. I took that very seriously, I would say. Everybody in this room did. All Democratic voters did. Everyone in their base did. A majority of independents think that Donald Trump was not truthful and thought that he actually lost the 2020 election and lied about it. But what do we get from our Democratic leadership? Clyburn, one of the most powerful Democrats in the history of the party. Let him get away with it because we lost in a situation where the Democrats should not have lost this election. If there was a primary to it, I mean, I think that who knows, but the situation that we were in is in large part due to Jim Clyburn and Biden and what they did and how they worked together. Because let's be clear, what Clyburn got in exchange and Biden did together for his help in cutting off
the primary. Or what are you talking about?
No, I'm going to say what you're saying. Like working with Obama and Biden to basically get everybody to drop out at the same time.
Which we all saw to undercut the Bernie movement. And that's lead with South Carolina, by the way, for some goddamn reason.
But that's what I'm saying. He got that in exchange.
Yeah.
So he got his goodie, which is that the Democrats universally declared, hey, we're going to do South Carolina as the first primary state. Iowa and New Hampshire has a state law that says we're the first primary. Iowa's the first caucus. It created massive logistical issues. But no. What mattered more than actually defeating Donald Trump was protecting Joe Biden. And Jim Clyburn is as responsible for that as anybody. And so now he goes out there and says that we should be pardoning Donald Trump on what basis? There are issues. I mean, thankfully, this old guard is leaving the fore. Pelosi's no longer leader, head of the Democrats in the House. Clyburn's position diminished as younger people kind of begin to rise up in the party and realize that partisanship is important. But my God, like the amount of damage that has been done, because how do you expect people to take you seriously that you think that he's Mussolini? I think Clyburn said that in particular, but the Morning Joe crowd compared him to Hitler, and then go around and say, maybe he's not that bad, and they go and kiss the ring. It's infuriating that these are the people that are there to communicate these messages that need to be communicated, because it was a boy who cried wolf situation. The voters didn't believe them. The Democrats have a credibility problem, and this is exactly why. They didn't believe that Donald Trump was the threat because of these are the communicators, and he just proved it right there. If you really thought he was a threat, why would Biden pardon him? And they did the same thing. I'm reading right now. It was one of our guests, Homeland by Richard Beck. And his thesis is about how the war on terror led us to Trumpism, and specifically the lack of impunity that came down from that. Not just for the war criminals in the war in Iraq, I would argue, but also for Wall Street bankers. It created an environment, a national mood, where people generally don't think that powerful people are going to be held accountable. And when they are with Donald Trump, he was able to position himself as outside of the group of people that should be held accountable, right? So it created for him, just based on the force of his personality and the fact that he's been on television, a tailor-made narrative that he was some sort of populist, which he is not.
Guess what number one donor to Clyburn was, contributions between 2021 and 2022? Oh, look at that. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee. What a goddamn shock that is. H.R. Res 25, by the way, introduced by a member of Congress, which would have investigated and expelled members who participated in January 6th, was not passed by the Democratic Party. No. It was introduced by Cori Bush, who is no longer a member of the Democratic Party, because they were removed by Zionist lobbying. So I want to think that things are getting better with the Democratic Party. I think particularly Israel spending has actually made things worse. I think a party without Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush is even less likely to respond to this moment positively.
You can't underscore the importance of democracy by having that position, by supporting AIPAC, by allowing all this money to go after specific members of Congress who are advocating for working people. You can't cut off a primary process to serve the guy because you've been buddies for 80 million years because you've served together, Clyburn and Joe Biden, in favor of your candidate because you'll get some goodies in return, and expect people to say that they think that you're the party that's protecting democracy. You have to actually perform democracy. I understand that like our leadership is so removed from the reality of the people that they're asking for their vote for. And by the way, Penny in New Mexico writes in, reminds me, Clyburn also was one who worked with South Carolina Republicans to gerrymander in exchange for protecting only one district as majority black, his. That's exactly right. That's another undemocratic move that Clyburn did in favor of his own interests.
These people are just patently corrupt.
When you don't perform it, when you don't do democracy, you can't make the case about Donald Trump and his threat to democracy. He is a threat, but you know what Donald Trump does? He's also responsive aesthetically to what his base asks for. So he'll respond. He directly engages on Twitter. Why do people like and put those voters that voted for AOC and Donald Trump? They talk directly to you, whether it be via social media with him on Twitter and now True Social, or whether it be her on Instagram and what she's doing with her Q&As. That's like also demonstrating responsiveness. It's not just what you do on election day, the votes that you get, because they don't actually, for them, the democracy isn't about like preserving the will of the people. It's about keeping them in power. And that's what comes off to folks. And if you ask people about the Democrats, a casual person will understand, oh yeah, they sabotaged Bernie. They were never going to let him have it.
And
that's the brand. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
And people, and I think there's this moment, and that discussion which a lot of people wanted to hope, like maybe we can just get past this and maybe we can have, future progressives win power or whatever. No, that is a fundamental problem that happened. And there's no, Bill Clinton is still talking about how actually NAFTA wasn't a problem because look at people's living standards. Never mind that there was a giant bubble that, the dot-com bubble, that when it collapsed, people were fucked and then poverty got worse. Like, these are still liars protecting their own selves.
Yep. All right, guys. Hanging up the phone. Going to read some IMs and get out of here. Yeah. Dan from Columbus, start the fun half talking about powerful person getting shot and ending with a powerful person suggesting protecting another powerful person. Morning Joe are just leeches, but Clyburn suggesting turning the page really feels like a spit in the face.
These are people who are conspiring against all of normal people for political class and capitalists, and Israel too. And it's really sick and disgusting.
Elemental computing, any functional democracy would have not let Trump run in 2024 in the first place. Yep, I mean, it would have...
I wanted to follow up on that point. Like, it's true that Trump is a threat to democracy. It's also true that the party that has held the power for a good chunk of my adult life, that let all of the Iraq war stuff go by, that nobody went to prison for 2008 despite massive fraud in the mortgage market, that is turning the page on even like COVID now, so them go after Fauci. Like that, there's no accountability, and it's not just a lack of courage. It is corruption through money. Yep.
Dirtbag Dan, as a former South Carolina Democrat, the party's deference to Clyburn has always been a huge roadblock to our success. Clyburn has always cared about his own self-serving, and I think there was a typo, but... John from T-Berg, Ben Shapiro explicitly stated that he not only condones but celebrates Israel's violence in Gaza, so he can explicitly eat my shorts with his pearl clutching about a ghoul getting 86. My father fought 4 cancer diagnoses in 8 years, and the week after he died, my mother got a bill from insurance that basically said, you don't owe us money because he died, but if you want to pay, we'll take your money. I'm glad these freaks don't feel safe right now.
Yeah, again, like that, I think that... I hear the Financial Times talk about all this security and all the concern these people have. You should.
Kirby, my mom works for a rheumatology practice. Providers would actually lose money treating patients with insurers like UHC. Her office has 2 full-time staff members just handling prior authorizations. It's all bloat, parasites.
Absolute parasites.
Rural lefty, before Obamacare, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oregon denied my husband's health insurance because he had previously gone to a therapist to help him deal with his brother being killed by a drunk driver. If he hadn't done military service and was able to return to the VA for health care, he would have been uninsured when he had the debilitating heart issues.
And know that there are people who were not so lucky and did. And we had Christy Ford Chapin on years ago, but I think we actually reposted the interview maybe in the past year or so, but the book is Insuring America's Health, the public creation of the corporate healthcare system.
Steve Austin, it's like the classic Chris Rock line, he shouldn't have done it, but I understand. Aesop's Foibles, South Korea is a great example of healthcare. I taught English and had amazing healthcare for like $100. I had surgery on my nose to fix a deviated septum and only cost me like $250 US. The same surgery would have been like $10K for me in the United States.
Highest costs and worse life expectancy. Capitalism.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.